Hey folks, how's it growing? Apple Nut here. So you can see the snow's pretty much gone, except for all the stuffing from Scout's little toys. And it's warm enough now that I'm out pruning. You can actually see that the buds here are actually opened up. They're green. So I can get into pruning now because I know the tree's awake and it can start healing itself. So that was one of the things I was trying to explain, is don't think of it as just like some thing that's out in your backyard. It's actually a living being that is going to respond in certain ways, and if it's asleep it can't respond to the cuts you're making, can't start healing right away. So that's why I always try to wait until it's actually awake and starting to do its thing. And you can see that I've already got a pile of wood here on the ground. I got started the other day, but then it got cold out, so I stopped. But you know, it's now it's starting to get a little bit warmer. So like I was saying earlier, this is a living being. Provides oxygen for us, takes carbon dioxide out of the air to do that, provides food for us, provides materials for making other things, making fires. You know, this is just a living being that is sharing this planet with me. And so when I'm going out to prune it, I want to make sure that I'm just gonna do the best that I can to make sure that I don't cause it any real harm. So when this tree was starting out, you can see here how you got these creases in here. Well, this is because when it was coming out of the ground down here, I started to send out many stalks, and nobody pruned off the side ones and just left this central leader. What they did was just let it go, and now what we have is a situation where all the dead xylem cells on the inside that were piling up were pushing the cambium outwards, and all the phloem cells that have been dying and piling up is what's creating this outer bark. And that's what makes your tree expand outwards. It makes it get thick. So, same thing here, like so this limb right here, if this had been growing up straighter, and this one started to get thicker and this one started to get thicker, what happens is this gap in between starts to close up and the tree actually starts to fuse itself together. But this isn't the greatest thing in the world, because now what we have is a very weak point that this whole half of the tree could actually rip off if we had enough snow. Or same thing here, this could actually, with the weight of the mass of this here limb getting too much weight on it, it could just rip right off. So that's why when you're hearing about cutting your branches off and making sure that you're leaving things that are growing out at like a 45-degree angle, things that creates a really nice strong growing point, then that's what you want to do. You don't want to leave it so that they start growing and fusing together like this and creating a very weak point. You can see how many of them were growing here. Like this was 2 limbs, and it's kind of now it's growing out that way. So my first operation that I started to do here, you can see how there's just lots of stuff going on. My overall goal is I want to get the height of this tree down, but that's not my goal this year. My first goal this year is to come in and start cleaning out the inside of this tree. So from about, so here we got this tree. And so what my goal is, I want to bring the height down, I want to bring it back in, I want to bring it back in, I want to do all that work. But if I go in and I start there first, then all that sap that's coming, like I was saying, that's going to come back up into the tree right now and start heading up to this point. If I chew that off, then it's going to start making all of its growth down in here, which is fine. That's what I want to have happen in the future, but that's not my goal right now, because then it just becomes too cluttered down in here. So what my goal is, I want to open all this up so that when I do take this top part off and the sunlight starts getting into these other points, then I can really just pick and choose and leave the space in between the branches that I want to leave down here. Plus everything that I'm pulling down through here won't rip off all this stuff that I'm trying to grow here. So this is a couple of seasons project. It's not all going to happen today. So like I was saying, my first goal, what I'm doing is I'm going in, I'm just taking out nothing but dead wood. Nothing but dead wood. Because after I take all this dead wood out of here, then it leaves me with the live wood, and I can see exactly how healthy this tree really is, because a lot of this up here is dead. And if I just start chopping off stuff, like maybe, let's say in this situation here, this one that's coming up right here, let's say it's dead, and this one beside it's alive. And I want to keep something there to, you know, once I start reducing this, I want to leave something here that can take up this space. So if I come in first and I start just chopping off all whatever, and I remove this here live one, that would have filled up this place, and I come here and I see that this one's dead, and I'm like, I feel really stupid for having removed the live one. And then I have an empty space and I have to wait a season for something to start growing back to take over that place. So another way I look at this tree too is I don't see just one big gigantic tree. What I see is each one of these limbs is its own separate tree. And what does the tree really want? It needs space between the limbs so that airflow can get between them. So that's what's happening here. I'm getting rid of all the dead stuff, and I'm seeing that I'm starting to make some really nice open spaces here. And also what another goal of mine is today is, like I was saying, like all I'm worried about is what's going on the inside of the tree here, because that's what I want to have cleaned up to get the airflow through, to get sunlight happening in other places where it wouldn't be able to reach because of the limbs in the way. And all this stuff that's out at the ends, out of these ends, I'm not even worried about it this year. That's next year's goal. That's going to be next season's goal. This year is just all about cleaning up the inside of the tree. And then in the summertime, when the stuff starts coming back from the points where I've removed things here, like these ones did, like when there was a branch removed and all these little shoots started to come up, this is what I'm going to be removing, but the stuff that comes up in here, because I don't want it in here right now. And you can kind of see what I've done already too, is I've kind of just got in and I've cleaned out this whole little area in here. But the way I do it is I pick a limb, and I just work my way through that limb. I start out by taking all the dead stuff out. I'm not worried about crossing branches or anything like that. All I'm worried about are things like this that have been broken off and damaged. That's coming almost straight down. That's coming off. Anything that, it's just been cut or broken that's not really nice, it's gone. I don't need it. And I'll leave all the live stuff out there. Anything like, I have a branch here that's coming down and around and coming through the tree this way. Well, I might remove that one. Well, I'm actually going to remove that one because now that I'm looking at it, it's completely dead. There's no live tissue on that little branch whatsoever. So it's obviously coming out. But then we have this limb here that's coming and it's shooting down through the tree that way. So that would be one of those things that is crossing. You can see how it's lying on that one and lying on that one. So then I have a choice. I can either remove the entire thing back to its point of origin, or I can cut it back to where it's starting to grow into a different direction, but then it's growing straight up into the tree. So I don't want that either. So that means it just comes off. So anyways, once I've gone through and taken out everything up to a certain point, then I'll move on to the next limb. And you see how I'm starting down at the bottom of the tree and working my way through the bottom of the trees, because anything that's up in there that I want to pull down, I'm not snapping things off. So yeah, you can kind of see the goal that I've got, and it should take me about 4 hours. So like this pile of wood here, and this pile of dead wood here and here, that only took me 20 minutes to clean up this little area right here. You can see how opened up it is since I took out all that dead stuff, because it looked like this. And then once I just took the dead stuff out, it started to open it up quite a bit. So that's my goal for today.